As you know, and some of the veterans of the Global Russia Business Meeting, it's really a working day. We had some breakfast sessions in the morning, reflecting on Russia's role in the global arena, talking about Russian investment. Now we come back to the economy, and it's more on a macroeconomic framework. We will look into the conditions for Russia, of course Cyprus, our host country, Europe and the world, and of course reflect a bit on the linkages between all those economies. Let me first introduce the panelists to you. To my right, to your left, Fedor Pospelov, who's the chairman of the Trust National Bank coming from Moscow, one of the leading private banks in retail, but of course also private banking. Natalia Kaspersky, the CEO of InfoWatch in Russia, a leading IT company. You might know Natalia also, of course, for her co-founding of Kaspersky Lab, one of the best-known brands in Russia, also in IT, and Natalia leading the company for many years. Chris Angastiniotis, the chairman of the Cyprus Investment Promotion Agency, who already addressed you last night. To my left, Sir Paul Judge, the president of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, coming from London, amongst one of the many affiliations, I should say. You're also the incoming Sheriff of London and an alderman in London, and you're leading many companies on board level as you represent companies all around the world on the supervisory board. And we have Alexander Yukno, who is the executive director of the Business Council for Cooperation with Cyprus, and also counsel to the president of the Bank of Moscow. We already listened last night to Mr. Kutsovlev, the chairman of the bank, who talked about Russia, Cyprus, investment, and of course the financial sector. So very interesting panel this morning. Before I start off and kick off the panel with a few questions, let me call on the Minister of Commerce, of Industry and Tourism here in Cyprus, Minister Lakotripis, who will address the audience and give the framework for the session. Mr. Minister, please.
Good morning, honorable panelists, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great pleasure and privilege for me to be here today and address the participants of this event, which is co-hosted by Horasis, the government of Cyprus, and the Cyprus Investment Promotion Agency. Russia plays a key role in the global economy, as evidenced by the country's high level of investment inflows and outflows, its leading role in the emerging BRIC economies, and its rich natural resources on which many countries rely. Russia is in fact the EU's most important single supplier of energy products, and the EU is the most important destination for Russia's energy exports. Moreover, the Russian government continues to focus on establishing Russia as a global business center, with multiple initiatives such as abolishing capital gain tax on long-term direct investments, being very successful in attracting new investors and maintaining those already in Russia. Dear participants, since Cyprus is a member of the European Union, please allow me at this point to refer briefly to the importance that the EU attaches to Russia. The EU has a vital interest in promoting prosperity in its largest neighbor. The European and Russian markets are in essence complementary. Both have strengths that could be shared to mutual benefit. The EU is a knowledge-based economy that must focus on long-term growth prospects, while Russia is a high-growth economy that needs the support of a knowledge-based economy to be able to further develop its strengths in advanced science, innovation, research, and technology. Economic ties between Russia and the EU have grown substantially over the last years. Russia is one of the EU's most important trading partners in goods, and this in turn makes the EU the largest market for Russian goods. In addition, The EU and Russia continue their successful cooperation regarding the country's area of research and development. The objective, however, is to enhance EU-Russia cooperation in mutually agreed priority fields and to create favorable conditions corresponding to the interest of both parties, aimed at structuring mutually beneficial knowledge-based economies, promoting high rates of competitiveness and economic growth through modernization of the national economies and implementation of advanced scientific achievements, strengthening and optimizing the links between research and innovation, maintaining small and medium-sized entrepreneurship in the field of research and innovation. It is important to note that Russia has to date is one of the most successful country participants in the EU Research and Development Framework Program. Ladies and gentlemen, coming now to the role that Cyprus can play in investments towards Russia and vice versa. It must be said that the signing of the protocol between the Republic of Cyprus and the Russian Federation contributes further to the strengthening of the existing solid bilateral investment relationship. Additionally, agreements, including the double tax treaty between the two countries, have produced results, as evidenced by the exponential growth of the Russian business community in the past 10 years. Undoubtedly, Cyprus will now have to go through a very difficult and long transition period, following the recent agreement of the memorandum with the European partners for the provision of a 10 billion financial assistance to the Cyprus government and the full operation and restructuring of the Bank of Cyprus. The Cyprus government is already taking the necessary measures to overcome these difficulties and to maintain and strengthen the relationship between Cyprus and Russia. One of our main priorities is to expand further the cooperation with Russia and Russian businesses, mainly building on the fact that Cyprus still provides an excellent platform for conducting and managing business activities from Russia to Europe and vice versa. We are, in fact, confident that Cyprus has all the advantages and resources to put together a successful future based on a new economic development model. This will be led by a strong private sector, which will act as a catalyst for economic activity and will be fully supported by the public sector and the government. In addition, our country also maintains its competitive advantage regarding its stable legal and regulatory framework and tax incentives. Given, of course, the discovery of significant reserves of natural gas in Cyprus' exclusive economic zone, these have created new prospects for our country and have placed us on the European and global energy map. Our plan is for this new economic model to be built around the oil and gas industry. We believe that the benefits from hydrocarbon extractions will prove to be catalytic for the economy of Cyprus and can help transform the region into an area of sustainable and balanced economic development. There is no doubt that all this can spark the further development of relations between Cyprus and Russia. Dear friends, as a member of the European Union since 2004, Cyprus has and will continue to play a critical role as a logistics and services hub for trade and other business activities from Russia to countries within the EU. We aim for Cyprus to serve as the #1 choice and an important gateway for Russian businesses into the European market, and on our part, we remain committed to achieving this goal. Moreover, it is important to mention the high number of Russian tourists visiting Cyprus. Indeed, Cyprus is one of the most established tourist destinations for Russians and is currently in first place in terms of the growth rate of the tourist industry and increase in tourist flow from Russia compared to other countries. Although the economies of Cyprus and Russia cannot be compared, given their vast difference in size, the fact is that both countries can benefit from the strong relationship and cooperation that exists today. When it comes to bilateral business relations, it is apparent that all the elements are in place for both countries to be able to continue to experience fruitful business collaboration in existing and future opportunities. Russia offers investment opportunities in various priority sectors of the economy, especially oil and gas, as mentioned earlier. And Cyprus, through its quality business services sector, can act as a bridge for channeling investments by major international players in those strategic sectors. We believe this can become a springboard for Russian corporations to develop their international activities in the EU and the Middle East and Africa. Whether for tourism, trade, investment, or energy, Cyprus will make every effort to be viewed by the Russian business person as a welcoming, pleasant, and trustworthy environment. Thank you very much.